boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, ba-dum, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, you know what time it is, folks. That's right. It's time for more In the Hot Box with Doc Reo. We'll be right back soon with Massive Action in 10 Tips. That's right. Massive Action in 10 Tips. And I'm going to tell you more about that. Oh, let's turn that off. I'm going to tell you more about that soon. That was the echo from earlier playing around with Night Court song. But anyway, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see in this video, please make sure you click the subscribe button below or click the follow button if you're watching this live right now, live in Mixer. Mixer.com/Doc Reo live right now, Sundays at 1 p.m. If you like what you're watching and you want to know when I come on other times because there is more content coming, there's more content coming on the palette, coming out, click that follow button below. And if you want to catch the rebroadcast like a lot of people are doing, you can check that out on YouTube. And if you're checking that out on YouTube, click that subscribe button below and don't forget to click that bell for no future notifications. I don't know which way it is. I think the bell is this way if you're actually looking at it from your direction. But, hey, that's what we do. But anyway, this is Doc. I'm here. I'll be right back. Stay tuned as we get ready for, oh, yeah, I still haven't made that screen, have I? I've been meaning to make that screen. We get ready for a quick break. Be right back.
Look at us up on Doc Reo TV.
All right, folks. You know what time it is. It's time for In the Hot Box with Doc Reo. And today we're going to talk about massive action in 10 tips. That's right. 10 tips. People are like, oh, yeah, 10 tips in an hour. Hold up. Let me get this thing out of here, too. This thing that I've been trying to charge because I kind of like this. This is kind of cool. You ever seen this? Ooh, it's kind of bright over here, but hold up. Looks kind of cool over there. I earned that thing. I earned that thing when I was driving Lyft back in the day. Yeah. They sent it to me. It was like, oh, you already earned enough when it came out. I was like, oh, okay, thanks. Anyway, but today we're talking about 10 tips to curate content for social media. And it's part of 10 massive action and 10 tips. I think people get the misconception that when you talk about massive action, you're talking about things that you can do without getting out to the public. And for me, it's more important that you do things to get out to the reach of your public. It's more that you get out in front of your audience and get in the hands of those customers. You get eyeballs on what you're attempting to broadcast, what you're attempting to show, what you're attempting to portray, or what you're attempting to sell, or what you're attempting to serve, whatever it may be. And it's important that you do get eyeballs on it because you need that word of mouth feedback to gain more customers. You need that situation where, sorry, my shoulder's still giving me heck. I sit a certain way. Otherwise, I can't sit for the whole time. But you have to make sure you keep that focus. And that focus stems from things that we've spoken about before. And that's why I brought back the 10 tips to curate, 10 tips for curating content for social media, or 10 tips to curating content for social media is really what that is. And that's a book that I've been putting together, but it's an ebook that I've been putting together, and I'm actually done with the ebook, but I keep going back and extending it. So it's anywhere from 15 to 20 pages. That's where I'm having that issue about explaining it right now. But it is done, except for how I'm rearranging and editing it right now and re-editing it. But I want to make sure that it is up to date, up to speed, everything you need for at least 2020. So the basics that you need to understand, and you can just read through this 20-page book. I'm going to throw it on the website in the next month for like 99 cents. Or maybe by the end of February, I have it on the website for 99 cents. It's actually going to take the place of the 12 steps to curating content, or the 12 steps to multimedia success poster that's there. Actually, it's going to go with the poster. The poster is going to be thrown in. We're going to throw in some focus group stuff. We're going to throw in some extra tools and stuff gradually that you'll be able to get. And those of you who have already bought, I have a list of people over here who have already purchased the in advance. They wanted to get the pre-order in before it went below 99 cents. You will also get an opportunity to get the 10 tips to curating content for social media, as well as all the other stuff in that package, until, of course, that 99 cents offer is over. And then once that offer is over, it'll be taken off the website, and then it'll be a different offer up, of course. But essentially, I just want to make sure that you understand that what I'm talking about here all goes together. So for those of you, I wish I could have told you this in advance. Those of you who heard all that before, you can skip to this point, and we'll go from there. Now, for this point, we're really going to talk about the 10 tips to curating content. And the reason why I really want to point that out is because you've heard some of these things that I've said before. One specifically, and I'm about to take a quick drink of water. The first thing that you've heard me say is pick a niche. You've heard me banter on picking a niche over and over again. You heard me rant about it. And not just picking a niche peaking your niche. All right. Now, the first thing you want to know when it comes to curating content for social media is that you're not only picking a niche for your brand, but you also got to pick a niche for the content you're posting. Okay. Now, a lot of you out there have your own content that you're posting all the time. You might be posting swimsuit model stuff. You might be posting t-shirt stuff, but in order to gain more interest in what you're posting out there, people want to hear things from the trends in your area, the hot sheets, the trade articles that are out there, and they want to hear people who have tried and tested things out there in your field, niche, or whatever you want to call it at this point. And whatever your brand is doing, you have competitors. And as if you've gone through what we spoke about before, as far as, when we talk about picking a niche, you've gone through a competitive analysis and tried to understand exactly those things that you need to understand to get to that market, to advertise to that market, so that if your product is even marketable. So we'll get more into that too, but let me read you down this list real quick. This is the list of the 10 tips real quick, so you understand where I'm coming from before we get into them. We're going to talk about niche picking a niche. All right. Not niche peaking, but picking a niche. How important that is for each post. Picking a niche for post. All right. Now, we're going to talk about when you're posting, making sure that it is a need, and that it is current, and that it is relevant. All right. Now, these are two different things when I say current and relevant, because some people will be like, well, if it's relevant, then it should be current, right? But no, it might be relevant, but it might be relevant depending on whatever software OS a person is using, whatever they're involved with. Okay. Read the content. Come on now. That should just be a given, but I have to say it. Read the content. Use a headline that matches the content. Headlines. All right. Images. Got to add an image. Add an image to it. Credit the author and the photographer. If the photographer is listed, if the photographer isn't listed, credit somebody. Just keep crediting. That's what we're going to talk about. Hashtags. All right. Mentions and engagement. Shorten the link. Unless you're branding it, and then make it short as possible. Make it something that people can remember, if you're not shorting it. But share on all social media. Share on all your channels. Continue to share your content and cannibalize that content so that you can share it more often. Because as I'm about to tell you something, look, I do this stuff and I put this stuff out here, and you'll hear me repeat the 10 tips to curating content, something that I started in 2018. Actually, I started in 2016, but I really put out in 2018 in a video. And that video for me has been something I had to keep carrying on, because although it's got 100 views and other people have followed some of the other stuff I've talked about tips to curating content and tips to curating for social media and all those things, it's been an ongoing thing, because how many people are in the world? There's 7 billion people out there, so not everybody has heard it. So those people who said, I've already heard this content from you and you don't need to hear this content, you can skip ahead or filter through it, because there's going to be some meat that I haven't talked about before, meat that may be in the book, actually that is in the book, and meat that I may reveal before I reveal the book that you might actually be looking for. So at the same time, this content is not for everyone. All right. I'm not saying what I'm doing will work for you exactly. What I'm saying is that some of these concepts are tried and true, and they've been done by other people out there. As a matter of fact, I was reading a book last night. Matter of fact, right here. This book right here. It's called Successful Startups by, I don't even know who it's by. William A. Benjamin and Jason R. McDonald. And its book was written in 2010, so it's kind of not exactly relevant, our current relevant, as some people would say, because they're like, oh, it's not relevant if it's not current. But no, it's relevant, but it's not current. But it does have some things that actually fit for today, and I was reading some stuff by it, and it just kind of, this stood out to me. This stood out to me right here. When we talk about spending energy and spending time investing in yourself, there was one point of this that really stood out to me, and I've been talking about this to you all a lot, and it has to do with the fact of research. Research is a key element in this game, should we call it. And the reason why it's a key element in this game, I don't know why this is not, okay, there we go. A key element in this game, and I didn't even check and see if y'all could hear me. Oh, wow. This is not even working here. So let's see if this works now. Yes, all right. So let's see if I can hear myself. Okay, cool. There we go. All right. So now, one of the things, sorry, I had to make sure the sound was working and pumping through the mixer. You got to double check that usually at the start of the broadcast, but I didn't check it that time. So one of the things that they talked about that was key on to what I've been talking about, and this book has been sitting on my shelf for like maybe a couple of years. I bought it at the 99-cent store, at Goodwill. I went on a Goodwill shopping spree and I started buying books. There's probably in one of my Instagram posts, you'll see me where I bought this book, and it was sitting there, and it's been sitting on the shelf. And I just happened to see it last night because I do this thing where before I'm going to bed, I'm reading a little bit about a book, kind of keep putting stuff in my head, keep learning, keep growing. So if I'm not studying for a test or exam for classes or whatever, I'm reading a book to try to gain some knowledge. And one of the things it said was that you got to do research. What I'm doing, I'm reading a book for some knowledge, for some research. But every time I tell you all that, it's something that you need to do, I got 3 fingers pointing back at me saying I got to do it. So I'm sitting back doing more, digging into research, trying to figure out exactly what I need to understand. And that's part of that picking a niche. You got to research the niche for the people out there. And as a matter of fact, I want to tell you something that it says from this book. I'm going to read it straight from this book specifically because it fits everything I'm saying. It says how important research is. Now, this team of individuals, they're putting together a product, and they put together a design for a particular piece of market validation. Excuse me, let me see. It was a data mining and analysis tool, all right? And they were putting together information for this tool that they invented to see if it would sell to their product base. You got to find out if it sells to your product base first, all right? First, so that's part of that niche peaking and niche picking before. But as we go to social media, I'm gonna narrow down how that makes sense in social media, all right? It says here, it says that although the 2 founders did design and complete some basic structural documents and agreements on their venture, mostly to record mutual agreements about roles and equity division, they have not hired any staff, rented a stage, a second garage, nor made promises. Excuse me. They have not hired any staff, rented a second garage, nor made any promises to take on fixed expenses of any kind, including any financial support for themselves. Their very healthy attitude is to conduct the primary and secondary research needed to prove real customers will pay real money for the data mining analysis tool, and to only begin looking for outside capital when they have such positive evidence in hand. Now, I'm stopping right there for a moment because I had to jump back. These guys have already raised $75,000 specifically for research. That's it. That's all they've done. And as you heard right here, they have done nothing else. They've spent no money on anything else. And if they find, it says, if the market validation evidence is not there, Ben and John, these two founders, have agreed to write off the cost and keep their day jobs. This is how important analysis is and research is, because we sit back and we try to sit back and look at just secondary research. Now, secondary research is important, but the importance of secondary research is only minute, because we need to pay attention to the primary research that we do ourselves. The data mining, the drill down that I've been saying before years. If you hear my 10 tips to curating content for social media, you got to do the drill down. That drill down, do the data research, get into the demographics, get into the psychographics, get into interviews, focus groups, dig down deep and get with your customer and your client so that you can understand what your customer and your client want to hear. This is how I get these questions. I ask people questions constantly of what do they think about this and what are they doing with their business. And I'm asking people, I'm surveying people on social media techniques, what gets their attention, what film stuff gets to people's attention, so that I can understand. And I'm not only doing it for class, I'm doing it for my information. We get to choose where our assignments and choose how we want to figure out this information. So I've chosen different things, especially when I chose that interview about binge watching and wanted to know more and dig deep about binge watching and find out how people see it and why Netflix seems to capitalize on it more. There are a lot of reasons why Netflix capitalized on it more, but we're not going to talk about that here. But, when you pick a niche, you need to dig into the hot sheets as well to find out what people like. See, information needs to be one of three things, and you'll find this out in my book. It needs to be informational, it needs to be entertaining, and it needs to be educational. Okay, so you need at least, I'm going to say you need at least 2 out of 3 of those things. Most people say, oh, you only need one of them, but I look at this. If you're giving somebody some informational content, you got to give some entertainment to it. If you're giving somebody some educational content, it's good to give some entertainment to it. Now, if you're giving somebody some, if you want to switch it around, informational, if you're giving somebody some entertaining content, it's good to make it educational or informational, because now you're giving them something solid to live by. So now you're working in all 3 circles. So if you use 2 out of 3 of those, then you're doing good. And that's going to be a new rule I'm laying out. Use 2 out of 3 of the informational, educational, or entertaining content to make your content. Now, slam that together. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, look. All right. Niche peaking for social media. Now, I like a few things. I like stuff that draws some kind of emotion out, like quotes do that. Comical videos do that. Memes do that. There are all kind of things out there, but the majority of people, if you look at demographic wise, just the basic demographics and the basic psychographics that you can find on Twitter, that you can find on Facebook, that you can find through Instagram insights, all this stuff, when you look at the data, you will find that most people enjoy comedy. Most people like to laugh because it takes them out of their world. Entertainment, that's what entertainment does. The number one thing that entertainment does is it takes us out of our own lives, which sometimes we don't enjoy, and lets us imagine and dream to be in another world. So when you talk about mixing entertaining content with informational content, or entertaining content with educational content, or educational content with either entertaining or informational content, because you can do educational and informational if you want to. But when you talk about mixing entertainment in, you got to look at the demographics for entertainment. And the demographics for entertainment say that most people enjoy comedy. As a matter of fact, I believe in my last survey, and I don't have those numbers right here in front of me, but I believe in my last survey, it was like 45% to 50% enjoy comedy versus drama versus action versus, and even though action adventure is supposedly the top category, overall, people like to see comedy in their action adventure. So let's bring that back now. And if you notice, a lot of the action adventure today has little drop bits of comedy all in it that make it really, really fun and enjoyable for us to watch. So now, comedy. Now that we've got that across the board, you understand why I've said comedy. Now, let's say you have a product you want to sell or a service you want to get out to your people. The best way to get that service out to your people is to take a little bit of comedy, add your product into it. So let's say you can write some copy with some comical copy with your product in the photo and somebody doing some comical, somebody doing something comical in the photo, or you can actually do a sketch for a little bit for just your online media, or you could actually write a script and make a whole series of online media skits that are comical about your content. Or wait, let's take it to the next level. Those of you who are musicians and are tired of getting your music stolen, why don't you write a jingle about your music? Write a jingle about jingles. You know what I mean? And there are concepts upon concepts upon concepts. I mean, I'm a musician, so I can say that because I know I slow down writing my music because of certain things. And especially now, my arm is killing me. Even though I'm moving around, I can't move it in certain directions up right now, and I can't move it too high. So when I'm playing guitar, I was playing guitar the other day, and I went to try to play the guitar, and I just couldn't really play that well, and I forced myself to play guitar longer, but it hurt like ridiculousness. But there are certain things in life that come in the way of us doing our music the way we like to do it. And I don't want to be stuck to the piano, so I'm going to fight to get that guitar arm back, just like I fought to get this leg back because I didn't want to be stuck on crutches or a cane. This is the way I am. Ooh, I went too far up. This is the way I am, and these are things I have to do to kind of make sure I keep going through, But when I think about this, I think about how can I deliver my product or service out to people that want to hear it, that want to feel it, that want to understand it. I give them an opportunity to find it when they want to find it. I tell them about it, put it out there, let them find it when they want to find it. Advertise it a few times, let it go. If I got something I want to say about it and somebody asks me a question, I can go deliver them that content right there on YouTube. Now if they want to get into the real content, then they can buy the content from me. Like I have beta testers and I have, I want to call them early adopters, because that's really what they are. Early adopters and beta testers who listen to content that I put out or check out content that I put out and listen to some of the lessons and take some of the lessons and I'm not opening that back up until the summer because I want to really get this book out there and I want to really give you something solid that is worth really, really thick value. Because yes, these classes are worth value, but if you don't understand where I'm coming from with these classes, you're not going to want to reach out there and grab it. Statistics show that if a client doesn't feel like there's enough information about the content that a person's putting out there, they're not going to grab it. But if you're omnipresent and you got this content everywhere, more or less, if you're branding your content, you want to get it everywhere as much as possible and you want people to see it everywhere. And that's why getting the comedy aspect and putting something comical out there, I'm not the best with comedy, but people say that I'm funny when I talk. People say they like hearing me talk and I say stuff that's funny off the side and I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time that's funny, but I don't even know. I laugh at myself so much I can't stop. Sometimes I'll be laughing at myself, just be laughing at myself because I can keep talking like this about stuff and tell you some information that you don't even need to know just because I'm talking. But if I was to get myself back on track, I understand that in order for you to take that comical aspect and put it with something, you need to have your brand or your service posted everywhere. Every time you see me, you might see this half the time when I'm trying to do my brand, you're going to see my symbol. Why? Because I'm branding that symbol. When you look up Doc Reo, DOCREO on the internet, you're going to find 1 to 10 pages of stuff about me. I don't even know if it's 10 pages anymore. it might not be 10 pages anymore. You know what I mean? But if you type my real name, there's about the same of that too. You know what I mean? So, and if you look for Doc Reo, you can find my real name. I'm not trying to hide anything out there. It's just a nickname, and I like it because it's smaller and it makes for a smaller website. Because if you imagine, before I used to have Marios-Amir.com. Yeah, so difficult, people didn't even find it. So I don't even mess with that anymore. See what I'm saying? I can laugh at myself. As long as I can laugh at myself, I can continue to grow and I continue to go. See what I'm saying? You got to grow to go. So anyway, you're going to hear me talk about that again because that's one of my things. You got to grow to go. You got to grow to go. You got to, like we all talk about this, we got to crawl, walk, run. Well, as you heard, I stuttered. Crawl, walk, run. That's a stuttering phrase. No, grow to go. You know what I'm saying? Let's make it short, fast, and easy. Grow to go. Let's get out the dough. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fool. I told you I'm a fool. I'm laughing at myself. I don't know if y'all feel that's funny. Y'all probably think this geek is just standing up there talking all kind of mess and he don't even stay on track of what he's talking about. But I am staying on track because the next thing you need to talk about, number 2, next thing you need to talk about is need-based content, current content, and relevant content. Let's jump into that real quick. Now, I've had a problem with this one. I put out content. You know why I've had a problem with this one? Because I have a spectrum of things that I'm putting out content to. I know that I am doing, in some cases, a lot of spraying and praying, and that's on purpose because I want to spray and pray some content and test it out there. See, 90% of what I'm trying to do is research. Back to that research again. Let's get back into that for a second because there's another section in here I want to read about research. It says, broadly speaking, there are 2 complementary phases to market research and validation. If you want to make sure that you can sell your product, if you want to make sure you can share your product with somebody, if you want to make sure you can get that product out to somebody, you want to make sure that you can validate your market value. You know, you got to have validation that your product is value on a market, that you can sell it out to people and get it out to people. And so in order to do that, you got to understand how to find out if your product is need-based. You know what I'm saying? And these 2 things are, it says 2 things. Now, both of them are research. First is conduct secondary research. That looks for second-hand data and information to validate the size, shape, and growth of the target market segment. So there's your demographics, there's your psychographics, there's information that gives you a general idea of your market. There's information that only gives you an aspect of what maybe your competitors or people in a similar market might do, but not exactly what you need to do. All right. Now, the secondary part of this statement is to give some precise definition to the second, more important phase, primary research. I know it's confusing. It's real confusing to hear that secondary research is primary and primary research is secondary. Well, first you want to get an idea if it'll work first, and then you want to do primary research, which is primary for you. It is more niching down. That's niche peaking. You're niche peaking. All right. Now, I'm going to keep saying that because people think I'm crazy when I say niche picking for niche peaking. Because you got to peak that niche. If you don't peak that niche, it's going to slow down. You want to talk about peaking niche? Okay. I spent the last summer primary research into customer purchase response. Okay. Wait. Before I say that, I want to read this one more time. To give some precise definition to the second, more important phase, primary research into customer purchase response is the most important thing that you can do. It doesn't say that, but is the most important thing you can do, is what it kind of generally breaks down. Now, I don't even know what I was going to talk about, but I spent this last summer doing research on the side and trying to niche down and try to look at how I could really break down my content for people to be able to get that information. because like I said, I've been spending a lot of time doing things across the spread. As I've said before, I have a lot of different aspects I'm trying to throw out there, and I have a lot of different things I'm testing. So for me to research and dig in this summer, I had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to peak my niche. And I had to look back at data that I used before, on Twitter data, on Instagram data, on Facebook data that I used before. Now, Instagram isn't really that large for me, but I've looked at data of the posts that I put out and logged reasons why they got so much people say they don't know the reasons why they got so many likes on a post, but I can tell you there are a lot of reasons why for different posts. Some posts, it's just so funny. I mean, there's a major thing that makes it funny for people, or that major thing that attracts people, and that's the things that you look for. And it's not like you can definitely repeat that exactly as it is, but you can put up enough content out there. You can make a spread of content out there that in that spread of content, you might have a series of content you put out there that has the same theme, and one might hit more than everything else. And that one that hits more, you just repeatedly put that out there. And when you repeatedly put that out there, you're constantly getting more eyeballs. You go from 600 people to 7,000 people because that one piece of content got more information. But you got to spray and pray at a certain extent of it. And so I spray and pray a lot of areas, but at the same time, I collect data from each of these areas. That's a lot of data mining. That's a lot of research. And I got to tell you something about this one. This blew my mind. This is the first time I read this book last night. And for those who are just coming back in, Successful Startups by William A. Benjamin and Jason R. McDonald. I don't know if you can see the names. Oh, there we go. Successful Startup. It's an essential guide to business venture analysis and development. And I bought this book for 99 cents at the 99-cent store. I don't know, at Goodwill. I go into Goodwill every once in a while. I look for their books because you never know what you might find. A diamond in the rough. 99 cents. I think this book was originally, what, $20-something? No, $54.95. $54.99 was his original book. All right. $54, homie. I got it for 99 cents. And I got it in 2020, 10 years later, and it still has relevant information. All right. Now, this line right here got me. I was just reading this chapter before I went to bed, and I was like, yeah, I want to read this chapter, just this particular chapter, right? And this chapter is just market validation, all right? It says, as an expert, Darlene Mann on Set Ventures put it, if you decided to become an entrepreneur, then you also decided to become a market researcher. So all these people on here that I know that I talked to on Mixer, and I see them out there, and some of them are researching the market, some are redeveloping their stuff, some are sticking in the same corners, and I feel bad for you, and I'll let you know, because the ones I see who are researching their market are constantly excelling and constantly growing, and their money's constantly evolving for them. The ones that I see that aren't researching their market, they're not developing. They're not growing. I mean, I don't plan to really grow that big on Mixer because I don't think I'm really in the market for an audience on Mixer. My audience might want more Discord time, which if you want to join Discord, you can go ahead and click that button in my the description below. There's a Discord link. You should be able to go right into Discord and invite. If not, check out my Instagram. Check out, I'm going to start putting that link up there so people can move over or migrate over to the different rooms I'm going to have set up there. There's going to be people who have an opportunity to be in these rooms and chat with other people. And some people you won't be able to get in other rooms. And that's what I like about Discord. I can navigate that chat so certain people who may be VIPs who I might be interviewing or getting information from aren't bothered because they're in a group of VIPs that maybe they're the only person in. So, you know what I mean? And that's where I can separate my Discord for people that, may be in different statuses. I don't want to dig into that as much as I want to get back to this. Now, she also, when she said, we have to become a market researcher, ultimately, being an entrepreneur and a market researcher, the two are inseparable. She says, ultimately, the two are inseparable. or inseparable. Should read first, right? Read the content. Inseparable. There is no unseparable. That is improper English. But she also warned against taking the easy road. All right. Sometimes entrepreneurs in emerging markets rely on secondary research because it's an easy solution, but don't do it. If you're starting a new business in a preciously untapped market, there is no substitute for primary research. All the secondary market research statistics in the world won't get you funded, but hard data from real prospects just might. And it's not just get you funded. It's not just get you funded. You know what I mean? When you talk about secondary research is going to give you an idea of what you can start doing to get that primary research so that you can understand if you can make money. And that's why they spent $75,000 solely on market research and vowed that if the market validation did not show that it would be valuable for them, that they were going to go ahead and just quit what they were building and go ahead and get back into their regular jobs, stay at their regular jobs. They wanted to quit their regular jobs, and I can understand that. Matter of fact, the first regular job I've had in years has been at Cal State University Northridge, and I went back as a student there. So that's the first regular job I've had in years, and I'm getting another job soon, and I'll let you guys know more about that on LinkedIn, so stay tuned for that. But, you know, it's important to understand that if you're not ready to take this step, if you're not ready to take this risk, if you're not ready to conduct primary research, if you're not ready to get into ethnography or do some observational research, if you're not ready to get some surveys done, if you're not ready to do some interviews, if you're not ready to do some focus groups, if you're not ready to test market, if you're not ready to get into some media content development for what you've learned from all these groups, and build some educational, entertaining, and informational content, 2 out of 3. If you're not ready to do that, then you might want to not become an entrepreneur. And I say that harshly because it's a battle. It's an uphill battle. Trust me, I spent most of my career working for myself, and it has been an uphill battle. Some days are great days. Some days you're up on the ladder. Some days you're down on the ladder. And I hope that I can get all the way back up the ladder, because I know I will get back up that ladder. I'm just planning and prepping right now what I didn't do before, and that's why I fell down the ladder. See, now it's all about planning and prepping and building ahead. And like I said before in the last episode, 1 finger, 3 fingers back. But one of the other steps, you need to jump into is reading the content. This should be a no-brainer. Reading the content. You know what I mean? Whether that be hot sheets, periodicals, journal articles, or books. Read that content. That's number 3 right there, folks. Read the content before you start to get ready to share it. All right. Then get in the headlines. This is why reading the content is so important. I've seen a lot of people just post some headlines. I've seen some of the content sometimes have bad headlines. And then a couple hours later, they change the headlines for a better headline. I tend to dig into the content. If I'm reading a hot sheet, if I'm online reading a journal article or a periodical, if I'm reading it, instead of taking their hotline, unless it's a good hotline, unless it really fits, because I don't want to take a headline hotline bling. No, I don't want to take a headline that actually gives you that impression that it's either biased or, sometimes it has to be biased because it's a product or a service, but, biased when it comes to the idea of, general content. Like I could see some racial content coming out in the headline. I've seen that before. And I would rather find out the meat of the article because, maybe it is a racial article. Maybe it is provoked by some either hate group or provoked. I'm not saying the hate group wrote it. I'm saying provoked by some hate group incident or provoked by, seeing the world the way it is at this point and talking about racial decisions. Something light like that. But yet the article came across the wrong way because the headline had the wrong statement. Now, if I read the article and I thought it was an interesting article and I want to share it, but I didn't think the headline was great, then I might find a line in the article, a quote from the article that stands out to me, and use that quote. Use that quote as the headline for the article. You know, and then I would definitely quote and when I say use that quote, I'm quoting the author of the article. I'm not, if I'm going to use a quote from the article that the author is quoting somebody else, I will put that under and say who the quote was from. But now, if I'm using the article and I'm quoting the article itself, the author of the article, then I can use their statement as a headline because I'm going to credit them in this process. So make sure you use headlines that actually fit the content, that are relevant to the content. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to have I've read a few articles out there and I'm like, this is not what the article says it is. Clickbait is one thing, and I get it. I get clickbait, but if you really want people to read your content, if you really want people to come back and return to your content, make sure that you got a headline on it. Even if you're sharing or curating content, make sure you got a headline that fits the content. Now, okay, we can get into crafting images now. Crafting images is important. I think you should craft your own images. I say that again. I think you should craft your own images. Now, there are a lot of tools out there. Like I use Adobe Spark Post, or you can use canva.com. There are a lot of tools out there that can help you craft your own images. And you may not be able to credit the actual authors. Like I know in Spark Post, I had to learn later that some of the stuff is by authors, and I had to find the author online and go to whatever website that author is on. There are a lot of free sites of images out there, and you can just credit the author or the photographer of the content. If you cannot find the author, if you're taking content, like I prefer to take the photo from the content that I'm sharing so that it's in line with the content, and add maybe, some crafty image to it, some crafty words to it. If I'm posting a quote or something, I may have to go to Spark Post and get some stock photos from there, or go to a website to get some stock footage. I'm gonna say that because I get stock footage too. Sometimes I buy stock footage. You never know. Now, in that aspect, I should credit the artist. When I buy stock footage, I credit that I got the stock footage from this particular source. When I buy stock photos, I credit that I got this particular photo, not from the stock image place, but from the actual person. Sometimes I might say that I got it from this particular place, but if I bought it from them, you can look up their name and you'll probably find where they're selling it. So make sure that you craft your images. I say craft them and not just start them from scratch. Take that image, double up something, put something in there. And sometimes I even tag in the photo the author of the quote, comment, or the author of the actual article. So I put in a little signature with their name on it. So it's got a little stamp on it from them, and I think that's just a little way of me just noticing the author a little bit more. And I'll get into more of that when we talk about crediting, which is number 6, but we're now at number 4. So let's jump to number 5. That was number 5, craft your images. We did number 4 was headlines. Number 5 is craft your images. And now we're at number 6. That's why we're jumping to it. Credit authors, credit people. That's why it's so important. Make sure you credit the author. Make sure you credit the photographer. If you just want to credit one, because I know how Twitter is. Twitter makes it harder for you to credit numerous amounts of people. If you just want to credit one, credit the author on like, let's say you credit the author and they're not on Twitter, but you want to credit the author by putting their name out there. Well, credit the author of the article if you're sharing an article with a photo. If you're just sharing a photo, or if you're sharing a quote, you probably already credited the author in the quote of the quote in the quote. You probably already credited the author of the quote in the quote. Said that one more time just to make sure you understood. And then if you got a photo for somebody else, you can put the photos by it also below that and add to it. I've done that before. I need to make sure I keep doing that now because I'm pulling back some old images from the past, and I've been sharing some old quotes and stuff from my notepad, and I don't know if I had the authors on every single one. So I got to look back at that as well. But for me, it helps because when you credit other authors, they notice you too, especially when you're talking about tagging them on on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. If you're tagging an author on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and you're sharing a post about something that they've created, with something else that they like too, they're liable to like it too, because their photo, their image being shared by somebody else inspires likeness sometimes. And then if they see something else that's tied in, they're like, oh, that was pretty creative that person did that. Oh, they put my signature in the image. Oh, wow. So this is a good opportunity for you to be able to do things to your image do things to the image and add to the image in a tasteful manner. Don't destroy the image, in a tasteful manner, to give it more oomph or get it seen by more people, and direct it back to the original author, the original creator. That is just great for them. So credit. If you're not crediting, you're plagiarizing. Think of it that way. If you're not crediting, you're plagiarizing. Think about that. And that's one of the things why I'm going through this book a little bit more, because I want to go through aspects and make sure that I'm not, if I did get some information from somebody and I don't remember it and don't remember reading it somewhere, make sure that I write it in. Now I'm going to even add some aspects to this book. This book that I pulled out here, I might even add some aspects of things that I saw in it to this particular book that I'm writing. And so I'm going to have to actually add them to credit them on, in my bibliography. I mean, I want to say credits, but it's not the credits. I want to say bibliography of this, because I'm going to write it in bibliography form. So yeah, in the works site. Actually, I'm probably going to put, I'm going to keep it reverse, because I was starting to structure it, but I'm going to keep it in AMA, and I'm going to put works cited. Yeah, we're going to do it that way. I think that's just better that way. So now, once you've credited people, you want to jump into hashtag 7. Number 7, hashtags. Hashtags, use them. I mean, I know people don't like to use them. I know people don't like to use a lot of them. I use about 5 to 6 every time. You should be using anywhere from 5 to 8 hashtags every time you post. Now, Facebook, it kind of is not good for hashtags. Twitter, Instagram, and Instagram, they love hashtags. They love hashtags all day long. So use those hashtags. You can put them down at the bottom, 5 to 8 hashtags every post. That gets your attention. That puts things out there. And make sure you rotate hashtags. I have a tendency of not rotating my hashtags as much as I possible. So here's another one of those 1 finger to you, 3 fingers back to me. Everything in this book is 1 finger to you, 3 fingers back at me. But, you're going to want to rotate your hashtags, use different ones, because hashtags can be spam tags too. So if you're spamming the same tags over, like I like to spam Doc Reo TV, Doc Reo Radio, I need to rotate them a little bit more. And I like to spam Make Moves, Get in the Lab. It's just everything to me is just about the same thing. It's pounding the same thing. I'm trying to get the same thought process across. Get in the lab, make moves. Press record, or press the button. Push the button, press record. You know what I'm saying? I said that all backwards. I keep doing that. These ideas, these concepts, 10X, you know what I'm saying? And of course, where to find me are things that I'm putting out there. And I want to keep putting them out there. And that's why I use the hashtags the way I do. And then mentions. All right. Mentions and engagements. This goes back to the credit. Here's something else that happens from you crediting. Sometimes you get mentioned by the person who you've credited. You know what I'm saying? So mentions and engagement. With that, if you get mentioned by the person that you credited, make sure you go back and like their mention, and maybe even comment back to their mention. Engage with them more. The more you engage with them, the more you're able to engage with them. Like, I have a problem lately with Twitter. I haven't been able to engage with my audience, so I do like their posts, but I used to always be on there, putting little Giphy ideas on there, putting little memes or different things, and responding back to their statement or their question or their comment. You know what I mean? And that's a little good thing that you can do that actually boost up your audience. I noticed that helped boosted up my audience, and that's how I went up the scale from, I think it was less than a year. I slowly took my time and gradually went from 100 subscribers to 100 followers to 5,000 followers in 1 year. Just took my time to do it. And I didn't want to rush. I just wanted to see what I could do. And there were certain techniques I did to get there. Now I'm not so active on Twitter, but I try to stay active because I got an audience over there that listens. I got an audience over there that likes things over there. And I got an audience that talks to me in the Tweeple chat. We got a team Tweeple over there. So I try to keep in contact with them while I'm doing my school duties. But at the same time, I've had a little distance. So I've seen my numbers decline. Those are easy numbers. You can get them back up easy. There are other ways, and there are social media advisors that can help you get that back up easier. But at the same time, if you want a meaningful audience to stay there, you got to give them content that you're gonna keep giving them and mentioning them and with them and interacting with them and engaging with your audience. I know that sounds like I'm saying the same thing over and over and again because it's kind of is the same thing, but it gets in the mind differently to people because part of streaming, part of having a web life, part of putting your stuff out there on the web, part of selling your content, putting your content out there is repetition. You're going to have repetition in everything you do. And you got to go through that repetition over and over and over again. It's like teaching a class. You're teaching a class about your brand. You're telling people about your brand. You're showing people about your brand. You got to tell one person to tell 10 people, to tell 1,000 people, to tell 1,000,000 people, to tell 1,000,000,000 people. And then you got 7 more billion people to get to. So before you can even get to the whole world. So keep telling your story, keep sharing your story, keep getting your concept out there. Now, another thing is links. Shorten those links. Links, that's number 9. Since we did 8 mentions, 9 links, short links. Get some short links out there. Write your own links. If you're branding your link like I do docreo.com / and this is going to be massive action. You know what I'm saying? So docreo.com / massive - action. You know what I'm saying? Massive action tips. That's what this is. So people will know that when they go to this, they're going to see massive action tips at docreo.com and they go to that link. And remember, there's massive - action - tips / that's it. You know what I mean? And you'll see the post. I'll have the post on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I'll have this out there and people will understand. They know where Doc Reo, docreo.com is. You know what I mean? If they see me, they know where it's at because they're already seeing my name here. You see it there. You see it everywhere. You know, I put it everywhere so that it's not hard to find me. Making it simple, repetitive nation over and over again. A guy told me once, he goes, how come you're only promoting yourself? And I said, I'm not just promoting myself. I'm talking about other people's books. I'm talking about other people's stuff. I'm talking about all kind of other stuff. But you see my brand everywhere, and it's inundating you so that you know where to go, where I'm talking about. So if you find me, you always see me. If you're promoting something, you're going to see me promoting myself first because I got to promote myself to promote anybody else. I can't promote anybody else if I can't promote myself. If I don't know how to do that, then where am I going to go? So one of the things about promoting myself is I use a little bit longer links, but they're shorter links. Shorter that they're not a full page. I see people still posting their whole page of links. Sometimes I don't even fit on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. They actually shorten it for you. You know, they shorten my links too. But I put it out there so you can read the words. I want you to read the words. You know what I mean? That way the words stay in your head and you're like, well, you remember that when you're walking down the street. Oh, you know, where was that at again? He said it's docreo.com marketing massive action tips. Yeah, that's it. Massive action tips. That's it. Massive action. You know what I'm saying? So shorten those links. Use Bitly. Use link shortener. Use WordPress link shortener. Use Google link shortener. You know, use whatever you got to do to shorten those links and get them down to a size so that you can use them. Get them to your clients so they can enjoy your content. And last but not least, you got to share it. I mean, you do all this work and you don't share it. I got a lot of content I haven't shared. A lot of content. I've done a lot of work on a lot of content. I just haven't shared it. And so what am I doing now? I'm cannibalizing some of that content that I've had and I haven't shared, and I'm sharing it. I'm putting it out there because it's information that helps me cannibalize my business. It's information that's just sat around, collected dust. It doesn't collect dust with me because I can chop it up, put it in a movie. I can chop it up, put it in a video. I can chop it up, put it in a post. I can share it on social media. I can put it on a YouTube video. I can talk about it while I'm sitting here. I can post it up on the screen right here, have it play while I talk about it. It's usable content. And so you will see me constantly dig into that content and share that content. You will see me constantly sharing something. Even if I take hiatus, I still got put something up every once in a while. You're going to see 30 Seconds of Doc come back. Why? Because 30 Seconds of Doc is something that I like. 30 Seconds of Doc is where I come on for 30 seconds and I give a spiel about something in a nation, something in the world, something that's going on today, something that's going on in our society, something that's going in our world. And I talk for 30 seconds straight. Now, the intro and the outro is longer than that, but I talk for only 30 seconds straight about the topic that I'm talking about. And it's a mission for me to get an idea out in 30 seconds. And the people wonder why I can sit on here and just talk for this long, because I've done a year of sitting back, figuring out how I can get thoughts and ideas out in 30 seconds. How I can do elevator pitches, how I can do 2-minute pitches, how I can stand up and pitch a film, a TV show, a TV series to a person standing in front of me, how I can stand up and talk to people constantly. I spent most of my life learning how to do this. I spent most of my life learning how to be here and do this. And so if you want to learn more about this, feel free to follow me below. And if you want to learn more about how to create content for your social media, the 10 tips to curating content for social media book will be out soon. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be 99 cents for the first month. Then after that, if you want to buy it after that, like the people who already bought it, you can have it after that. But I mean, if people want to buy it after that, I'm going to raise the price. I'm just be honest with you. I'm going to raise the price after that. But I'm going to give people a month, and those people who have already pre-ordered it before, those early adopters who spent their hard-earned 99 cents to send it to me, you'll get that 15 to 20 page report. I might be longer than that because I want to put some images and some data stuff in there as well that go along with this, some tables. So it might be a little bit bigger than that. It might be a 30-page book that eventually will be printed into a book when it's full to where I want it to be. But, you know, technology changes so fast. So you never know. You never know. You know, I might just make them ebooks for the rest of eternity. So with that being said, this is Doc. My arm is starting to hurt really bad. I can barely move this arm. It's sitting right here. It's just laying on the side right here. So I got to get out of here and go. But, you know, I'm healing well. I can move it a lot more than I could move it before. And, you know, I've got a wider range of motion, and I'm glad for that. You know, that is one thing that the universe, God, or whoever your perspective may be, has blessed me with, the ability to still keep moving, still keep going, and still keep growing so that I can go. Grow so you can go and get out the dough. This is Doc Reo. I'm headed out the dough. See you soon. Stay tuned for more as we get ready for the Doc Reo roll. You know how it goes. We get ready, get set. Peace. I'm out of here.
There it is. If you need to reach us on Facebook, it's at doc.reo, yeah. On Twitter at Doc Reo Rants. On Instagram, the picture way. And every time I come, I'm here to stay. Snapping photos and get it right. It's at Doc Reo tonight. Say, on YouTube, you can't stop by Doc Reo TV. That's where you see me. That's where you see me. Hit us up on ReoBucks.com. Yeah. Back to your regularly scheduled program now. Peace. I'm out. Doc Reo TV.